the House Energy and Commerce Committee in Congress, they are going to be investigating what they say is China's role in American opposition to data center construction in the US. MAGA Congress people are doing classic interference on behalf of oligarchy with this shit. So there's one congressman, Jason Smith from Missouri, MAGA congressman. He has accused China of funding nonprofits in the US to turn American public opinion against data centers. So he's launching his own investigations. He's calling on the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, to strip nonprofits, NGOs, of their tax-exempt status, just, I mean, in a McCarthyist kind of way, right? But he says that he believes that data center opposition in the US is absolutely sparked by foreign actors. That's a quote. And then he says, quote, "We've tracked down Chinese money that comes into US not-for-profits that are organizing the protests against data centers because China wants to win computational dominance. If they can sow discord and chaos within the American citizenry, they'll slow down America in the AI race and they win. We have to be guarded." That's his quote, right? This is exactly what Mike Brennis and I wrote about in The Rivalry Peril, the book over my shoulder. We have 2 chapters of the book where we talk about this exact playbook. They call it subversives, they call it fifth columnists, they call it the enemies within, but they scapegoat a foreign geopolitical rival as the excuse to persecute and repress domestic democracy, to deny rights, to punish, to use state power, to oppress specific people, specific populations, specific groups. When it goes unchecked, it expands and expands, and eventually it comes for fucking all of us. That's literally what's happening. That's literally what they're doing. They're literally saying China is the reason for data center opposition in the US. And if you know fucking anything at all, you know that that's not true. If you're listening to this show, it is 100% guaranteed that you are opposed to data centers, and it's not because China told you to be opposed to data centers. You know what I mean? What the fuck are we talking about? My electricity bill is going to go up, and tech oligarch assholes are going to get richer, and my neighbors are going to lose their jobs to AI, and the climate crisis will accelerate, and it's all because of fucking data centers that fuel an AI bubble that makes it almost inevitable that we're going to have another global financial crisis. And if I oppose that, I'm a sock puppet for Xi Jinping. I'm brainwashed by China. If I oppose my electricity bill going up, if I oppose Sam Altman getting richer or Elon Musk getting richer, if I don't want the climate crisis to get worse, if I don't want my neighbors to lose their jobs, I'm working for China? Is that how this is going to fucking go? Is that the argument you're really going to make? You could not invent a more anti-democratic policy position than that. Insane. And there's a parallel development here. Wired magazine got a tranche of documents revealing that the federal government is targeting anti-AI and data center activists. Data center activists are just people, like concerned citizens in their communities. Like they're people who show up to city council meetings and school board meetings. You know, some of you almost assuredly are of this population. And the federal government's fucking going after you for it. They are formulating a new threat category called anti-tech violent extremism. This expands the national security state's inverse relationship to democracy, which is like an ongoing theme of this show, frankly, in the newsletter on -diplomatic.com. There's a retired Air Force general, Dave Deptula, and he's in this network that I'm part of from a previous life, and it's gross and a long story, but he's this total shill. I see his opinions all the time because of this. He's a total shill for the defense industrial complex and for air power and the $1.5 trillion military budget. And he runs this thing called the Mitchell Institute, which is a military think tank funded by all the devils you know: Anduril, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, CACI. CACI actually doesn't get a lot of attention these days, but CACI was the company in the Bush years that was found guilty of doing like 50% of the torture and war crimes at Abu Ghraib. Like that was the scandal of the 21st century before Trump came to power. And it was CACI that was doing that shit. And it's CACI that's funding this guy's fucking think tank. Okay. So just, follow that money. Anyways, the Deptula guy, he wrote a piece last week called Blocking the Construction of Data Centers is a National Security Risk. He is an agent of the Imperial Boomerang, right? He is one of these like plotters who's profiting from turning the national security state against activists, against American communities. And I know 50% of my audience is international, and they might be like, well, what do I care what's going on in an American community? If you let data centers be built where you are, it's going to be the same shit. This is a global problem. And it just so happens that even the former global hegemon is not exempt from it. And in a way, I said this in a speech I gave recently, like data centers are the leading site of primitive accumulation. They are a means by which the core of the imperial capitalist world system is being peripheralized. America is proliferizing itself or peripheralizing itself through partially these AI data centers, right? They're like a tool in a class war against it's not just against workers, it's against like our way of life, like the communities that workers live within. This is a threat to the reproduction of social order itself. That's pretty grand. And it's all hanging and being defended and pushed in relation to the China threat, not just as the pacing threat, but as if you are opposing any of this shit, it's because of the China threat also. They're taking your rights and they're blaming China as they do it.